A warm welcome back to another What a Shout, brought to you Friday morning in the capital. Myself, Dave Orton, solo in the studio. Paul Kealy joins us as ever, though. Don't you worry about that. Here he is. He's on Skype.
How you doing, Dave? You all right?
He's got a familiar look about it, Keels, I have to say. But all we want from you, mate, is your pearls. How's your form at the minute?
Yeah, getting a little bit better. I had a couple of winners at Chester last week and a winner yesterday. Winner on a third in the same race. Copper Knight did the business. Lovely old veteran him, and he loves York. I have a feeling the horse that was third, Mondamedge, is going to be one of those cliff horses I do a lot of money on over the next couple of seasons. Very talented, but looks like a bit of a nutter too, doesn't he?
No comment. And from our sponsors, Bet365, great to have Pat Cooney back with us.
Yeah, terrific racing we've had so far this week, and more of the same over the weekend. Really looking forward to it, Dave.
Absolutely. Right, we've got Paul, we've got Pat, the two Ps are there. Who's the big guest? Well, stay tuned. We've got Powerhouse Classic winning trainer, delighted to say from Somerville Lodge, William Haggis will be joining us later in the show. Let's have a look exactly what is coming up for you then. Hot topic. Let's get back to the racecourse. Oh, yes, on Monday, May the 17th, we'll be talking all about that. Racing clues. Quite a bit to chew on there, isn't there? We'll, of course, be giving you all the big race previews, culminating in the Group 1 Lockinge Stakes and the big calls, as well as the weekend winners. If you'd like to sign up to our sponsors, Bet365, you can do so with a referral code. It's still running. Shout365. Do that upon entering. £5 minimum deposit for up to 100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Shall we go to Somerville Lodge in Newmarket? Thrilled to say we've got Powerhouse dual classic winning trainer William Haggis joining us from his office on this Friday morning. William, welcome along to What a Shout.
Thank you very much.
Thrilled to have you. Let's get the graphic up on the screen. We've been really looking forward to this. You can see now, all our viewers out there will know that we do top horses of a stable by Racing Post ratings. You can see some absolute old favourites there, all the way down to One Master, of course, headed by Addeybb. We'll get a word from William on him in just a second. You can see 20 Group 1 wins there, all the group winners on the bottom as well. It's fair to say, William, that at the start of the week, when I knew that you'd agreed to come on, I was slightly overwhelmed by just how many runners you have, first and foremost. Your strike rates, which are just, I think every single month of the year, you're in the 20s, which is powerhouse stuff. It's fair to say that 2020, despite all the problems with COVID, was a rather good year.
Yeah, I mean, remarkably, we'd had 2 winners by June the 1st in England. We'd had 3 in Australia, and we ended up with 120 something. So it just shows that if you're patient, which we had to be last year, but if you're patient, you can finish well. So that's what we try to do. We try to run them mainly when they've got a chance of winning.
Well, I'm going to pick up on what you said there, William, about being patient. We know that you had what I would call probably an interesting stint with Sir Mark Prescott, and I'm going to go somewhere with this. Of course, you say being patient. One horse that's not on that list yet of the Racing Post ratings, but hopefully come the end of the term will be, is Mofarheth. Hopefully I've got that name right, because this horse has kind of come out of nowhere, William.
Well, he's an improving horse for sure. Quite whether I can believe what he did at Newmarket on Guineas weekend, I'm not so sure. But he's improved considerably from each run this year. I do think, I think he is a stakes horse. I'm not sure about the mile and a half, or whether he'll be as effective a mile and a half, but I am convinced that he has to have fast ground. So that slightly concerns me at Epsom.
That's interesting. You look at his pedigree, William, and he's related to Mile 4 horses, isn't he? You think that it might be there. And the market certainly thinks that he's got a big chance on the first weekend of June. What have you made of the classic trials so far? Bolshoi Ballet, for example.
Well, I thought he was impressive, and Ryan obviously wanted to get a good idea of what he was like because he never left him. He pushed him right out. I don't think he beat. Well, it's difficult to know, isn't it? Lockderg could end up being a good horse, probably win the Derby, making all the running. But McSweeney probably didn't run to his best. I know they like Taipan, just feel he's better on slower ground. So it may have been a very good trial. It certainly looked it. And yesterday's, I thought the third horse looked the best horse, but I don't think he'll win at Epsom. I think he'll win the Irish Derby.
Now, of course, so we're hoping that the sun will shine at Epsom for Mafarheth. But one horse who looks like he wants a little bit of slower ground, and I have to say this has been extremely impressive. And another horse you've been very patient with, seemingly, is Addeybb.
Yeah, he won very well at Ascot last weekend. He's got form on heavy. We've never actually thought he needed heavy, and that was on the slow side at Ascot last weekend. He won quite impressively. What impressed me was they went no pace at all, and the leader got the run of the race, but he swept by him quite well. He looked like he was well handicapped on that day. Now he's got to make that step, which we had a horse win the Rosebery very easily in the spring. And I got him up in class, but I sent him to the Jockey Club Stakes, Al Zarakan, and he failed miserably, which is why Addeybb went for a handicap at York as opposed to a stakes race. So we'll have to go gently, but at 105, a 12-pound height for Addeybb, it might be tricky.
I was expecting to see him entered in the Jersey Stakes, William. Am I mad to think that?
No, not at all. I think he'll obviously get an entry. He might, if the ground has got a bit of cut in it, he might go to Epsom for the 7 furlong listed Surrey Stakes, I think. But we'll see.
That would be fascinating to see him round there. And you say he was quite impressive when Jim Crowley took another pull. Look back in your members section. That was very impressive to my eye, that's for sure. OK, let's have a talk about some other horses then. We must mention Addeybb, of course. I said at the top of the show that, everyone that watches the show knows that I get up at silly hours on a Friday into Saturday to watch Australian racing. I absolutely love it. And I think probably the horse of the year by my reckoning, I said it on this show, was Addeybb. We now know that he's one of the highest rated horses in the world because of the famous double that he did with Aussie Tom, as they now call him, going down. First of all, William, that must have been a huge thrill. But to see him go back this year, not quite the double, but that wonderful rivalry that he's got with a very elegant Chris Waller's mare, who hopefully will be coming for the Arc a little bit later on. Was that the pinnacle of your career, William?
Well, I think when he won the Champion Stakes, that was, we all want to win a Derby and an Oaks, and we've done that, which was a great thrill. But when he won the Champion Stakes, albeit on heavy ground, and he was imperious, I thought that was his best ever performance. Funnily enough, I thought he wasn't as good this year in Australia. I think he was really unfortunate because if you remember, well, you'll remember, it was monsoon weather for the Ramvet Stakes, and they postponed it and put the carnival back a week. And the following week, when the Ramvet was run, the ground was what they call a soft 5, but it was quite quick enough for him. And then again, it was a heavy 8 when he should have been running in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, and it ended up being a good 4.
Yeah.
When he actually won it. So I don't think he got his ground this year. I thought if you get a chance to watch the drone footage of the Queen Elizabeth Stakes this year, you'll see probably as good a ride as you can ever see by Tom Marquand. He just timed it to perfection, and it wasn't the end. It was the beginning section when the favourite, Very Elegant, was going too free, and just as James McDonald dragged her back out to get some peace, Tom made his move to go and sit on the leader's girth. And it was that move where he got a couple of lengths out of her that she couldn't get back. So that was, for a young guy, that was an absolutely world-class ride. World class.
Let's stay with that then, William, because Tom Marquand and yourself have got this incredible relationship now. You've had some proper jockeys through your ranks, of course, we know that. But this young guy, he's the real deal, isn't it? And of all the playgrounds where jockeyship is thought to be the most important, perhaps Randwick is that place.
Yeah, it absolutely. I know not as much about Australian racing as you, but I've been watching quite a lot of it now. I'm a bit like you. I get up at God knows what hour in the morning to watch the racing on a Saturday morning. and I think the standard of jockeyship there is excellent. I think McAvoy and Bowman and McDonald are considerably better than anyone else. But Tom stands out like a beacon to me. I mean, he's really strong. He didn't get going as well this year. He had to do some quarantine when he got there. But last year, everyone latched onto him. This year, because he was there for a shorter time, they didn't really. And I'm surprised because he really is a top rider.
I mean, we could stay on this forever, William, but we must move on. Let's concentrate on Addeybb then. And now I heard you talking to the Aussies about the Eclipse, William. He's, of course, in the Tats Gold Cup as well. Will the first time blinkers be retained for him? Is he just chasing the rain?
He is just chasing the rain. He owes us nothing. And I don't, we were a bit, obviously we had to run in Sydney, but he won't run on good ground again or good to firm ground. But he'll run on heavy. He won't run in Ireland next weekend. He might go for the Prince of Wales, but I fancy the Eclipse. He's never done it before. I think a right-handed track is right up his street, but you can't guarantee the weather. And I wouldn't mind a dab at the King George either, because that's been run on bottomless for the last 3 years. And, a mile and a half might be stretching him, but he's a very good record at Ascot. He's really good right-handed, not as good left-handed, sadly.
OK, so we're hoping for a monsoon on the first weekend of July, and we'll see him at Sandown in the Eclipse. That's great. Now, he, of course, started in a Lincoln of 99, or started his 4-year-old career in a Lincoln. That was soft ground. He beat Lord Glitters that day. What a Lincoln that was. Have we got another Addeybb? We've got a horse, haven't we? And of course, those famous same patronage silks of yours, Addeybb. You mentioned it at the top of the show. This guy is seriously impressive.
Yeah, he's a lovely horse, he is. A very genuine horse. He's not a terrific mover, and he takes a long time to get going in his races, but he keeps delivering. And it's hard to win 6 handicaps, even Heath House style, when you start off 50 and get to 75. But he really has gone through the ranks, and he was at his most impressive, I thought, on Wednesday. And I was delighted he did it, but quite surprised he did it so well. And it looked a deep race beforehand, so maybe it wasn't that good. But he does need cut in the ground, and I think he needs to go left-handed as well. So my father-in-law used to say that nearly every horse prefers to go one way or the other, and I didn't think much of it until he said that. And I think it's true. And Addeybb leans to the left quite a lot. And I think going right-handed might be, when he won a race right-handed, I forget where it was now, and he ran all over the track to win. Someone will be able to, Beverley, last year. He won a 1.25 mile race at Beverley last year, and he ended up on the stands rail or close to it, although it was soft. So they usually go that way anyway. But I think left-handed better for him.
Isn't that interesting? Because it was a winning you're in for the Ebor. And look, William, tell me if he's not going to stay a 1.6 but it's worth so much now. And he does look better the further he goes.
Yeah, he looked like he'd stayed a 1.6 to me. That was his first time at a 1.5 miles, and he put up an improved show. So, but he may have handicapped himself. The handicapper takes exception to winning races like that, even off 102. So I suspect he'll go into 110 plus, which might make the Ebor quite difficult. We'll have to find another one for that.
There probably is one lurking, isn't there? Lurking, of course, in the shadows is Paul Kealy and Pat Cooney. Normally by now I'd have brought them in, but I'm sure you've been enjoying listening, guys. Paul, there's a horse at York that you wanted to ask William about as well. He was a little bit unlucky, wasn't he, in the big sprint?
He was, yeah. Now, he's a horse. I still can't believe it looking at his form, because I unloaded on him in the Silver Wokenham last year and managed to get the mark at 93. Spent the rest of the season trying to get him beat, and he hacks up in the Air Gold Cup. I thought he was really good at York. He's definitely confirmed himself as a proper group class sprinter. I just wondered if the long-term plan might be the Maurice de Guiche, because he gets 6 really, really well, doesn't he?
Absolutely right on his agenda, but he's going to go to Ascot first. I think I always thought he wanted top of the ground, But actually, I think he wants cutting the ground now. At Ayr, I was very iffy about him in the Ayr Gold Cup because the ground was drying and it was tacky, dead ground, and he loved it. And I think again, we'll just wait for the ground. I don't mind waiting. And, you know, July Cup, any of those 6 furlong races, 6.5. I think he's a sprinter, though. We ran him at Chelmsford, trying to get a blow into him to go to Dubai for the Alquoz sprint. And he ran so badly, we shelved everything. But a 4-horse race over 7 furlongs is not for him. He wants a really fast gallop. And I know it sounds silly, but they didn't go very fast in the Duke of York. Quite what they were doing, I don't know. But they went for the first 2 furlongs, it didn't go fast at all. And we took a view that the pace was on the stand side, my fault. And I said to Tom, you want to get in amongst those. Bar Emirati, and there seemed to be no pace low. And of course, off he went. They went no gallop, so he's going full throttle when he shouldn't be. And then he had to pull him back to the outside to make his challenge. So Tom was a bit miffed to get beat. I think the winner won well. And it used to be Tom's ride, Starman, until we claimed him for Nahar. So I think he was even more miffed that he'd been beaten by Starman. But that's the way it is. I think he's got lots to offer in Nahar still. I think he's a young, improving horse. He hasn't been over-raced or overtaxed as yet. And as for the Silver Wokingham, I'm with you. I thought he was an absolute moral, but he virtually bolted with James Doyle. And that was when we realised that missing the kick and getting him to relax was the answer. And now we know how to ride him. And that's my fault, not the jockeys. I think you'll see some more consistent, improved efforts from him.
Well, that's brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely. If you watch back the clip of logistics, he went one way at a time, one way or the other. I was saying, Tom, what are you doing? Turns out it was trainer error, of course, and the 2 came clear, and it looks like it's good form. And Paul Kealy will have a Cheshire grin on his face because he's got the ultimate target absolutely right. You mentioned the Silver Wokingham. We were all on the absolute floor when that got done in the final furlong, probably all apart from Pat Cooney, who I know wanted to ask you a question about your Derby winner.
Yeah, William, Sharmit, 25 years ago, I remember there was a big move for him, anti-post. He'd only had the 2 runs as a juvenile, and he won the Derby with him first time out, stepping up in trip. So I've got fond memories of him, of course. And I'd also like to ask you not just about him, but about your Australian project. Of course, you've got the Great Addeybb. Would you be thinking of bringing other horses down there? And at what point do you actually start thinking, this could be one for Australia?
I don't know, really. Addeybb was quite easy, although it sounds very clever, because once we'd realised that he wants to go right-handed and he wants deep ground, you then look round the world to see where you can get the conditions in his favour. And Hong Kong's right-handed, but it's not. It's always too quick. And then Australia looked obvious. So it sounds very clever, but actually we hatched it a long time before because that was the only option we had, and he was a gelding. So once I'd got permission to travel, then that's how that started. And there's a nice horse running today, actually, who I have penciled in for a companion for Addeybb if we go back next year.
Well, you've got to give us a name, William. We can't. That's got us hanging on tenterhooks there.
He's a horse called Irish Admiral. He runs in the 3rd race at York.
There you go. By the time everyone's watching that, they'll be looking, why didn't I buy back?
He runs it. Should I say he runs in Blue Cups race at York?
Well, yeah, indeed, absolutely. David Manuzio might have something to say about that, mightn't he? So there you go. What an absolute fantastic insight. You've got runners everywhere this weekend, William. Could you have an Oaks candidate, though, in CM Press?
Much the best we've got. But she's a really talented filly. But I'm sure she wants better ground than she's going to get. And I won't run her if it turns really soft or heavy, and I'll wait for Goodwood. But if we're going to run her in the Oaks, and that's looking more unlikely, she's got to run this weekend, really.
And Tiona didn't do the form much harm, did she?
No, it didn't do it any good.
Well, I think she... You did learn off Sir Mark, but that is. But you can see that I think that she was probably one of the fillies to take out that, William. I wouldn't be too disarmed by that. Let's talk about the other weekend runners, and if we can, Al Azi. Then you must have been delighted when he came back to form at Newbury last time. Can he give £3 to the Old St Leger winner?
Oh, I think he can. Yeah. Look, Logician is interesting because rumours are that he's been working like a drain. He's definitely had headgear on at home, although apparently he worked better the other day. But Logician's a very good horse and will beat him if he's on top form. But Al-Assi's a pretty smart horse, and I think his best form up until the John Porter was with Cut in the Ground. So I think he'll run a really good race. He's just got to relax and just do the first half of the race right, and then he should be fine. But Jim will now, I'm sure, ride him with lots of confidence because he's got some ability, that horse.
This is a stepping stone to Group 1 company, isn't it? I suppose the Coronation Cup, if it all goes smoothly tomorrow?
That was always the plan.
OK, that's him. Let's talk about your runner in the Lockinge, if you don't mind, William. Now, we know you've got the poster boy of the mile division to beat Palace Pier, but my Oberon's a horse that's still surely got more to give.
Yeah, good horse. I think he wants further. I was mad keen to go for the Disfahan. And then when the jockey I'd hoped would ride him was arrested this week, and the complications of getting horses to France, they clearly, like Melbourne, they don't really want us. So I've gone for the Lockinge. I think Palace Pier is pretty unstoppable. I think Top Rank each way is the best bet in the race. We'll have all on to beat Top Rank, and I don't think either of us will beat Palace Pier.
Top Rank, of course, holds my Oberon when they met before, didn't he? But so that's a look at that. We'll be looking at the Lockinge in greater detail once William's gone. William, it's been really good to have you on. You don't hold anything back. I know that. Thank you so much for coming on. From all the What a Shout viewers, we wish you all the best in 2021 going ahead. Addeybb, we can't wait to see him coming back out. There is a dark horse that I'd like to ask you about, though, William, just quickly. You've inherited one from South Africa, haven't you? A rather good horse, a 5-year-old Entire.
Yeah, he's just... Funnily enough, he did a bit of work yesterday on the lime kilns, and he didn't pull up so clever. So everything is a bit on hold. He's better today, but everything's a little bit on hold with him. That's
the winning machine, Hawam, of course. And William, while I'm squeezing it in, the viewers would throw rotten tomatoes at the screen if I didn't. Can you give us one to bat this weekend?
I like Fireworks in the maiden. I know Darab is odds on and will probably bolt up, but Fireworks is a pretty useful horse, and he's been working with a horse who's unraced, who runs in the maiden at Newbury, called Candleford. I like him as well. So if Fireworks can shape up, probably a little bit on Candleford. He's the outsider of the field of 6, but he's not a bad horse. You probably need it. That's why he's not a bet. But he's a nice horse. Tomorrow, with Doncaster, Thirsk, Newbury, Newmarket, probably the one at Newmarket. That's a good horse.
So when Addeybb goes and wins the Eclipse and then follows up in the Champion Stakes, Nahar wins the Prix Maurice de Guise. We've got Aldari, of course, don't forget, in the Jersey as well. Will you come back on and tell us how they're all doing?
We dream. I will if all that happens, definitely. I'll be on for the whole show.
That's gone to 33-1 on, isn't it? OK, great stuff. William Haggis, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hot topic time it is. Get to the racecourse. Oh, OK then. We weren't sure, were we, this time last week? A hot topic was we need answers. What's going on out there? Pilot events, we were being told, maybe one at Royal Ascot if we were lucky. Turns out that Boris came out on Monday and opened the floodgates. Well, pretty much. Of course, up to 4,000 limited numbers we're expecting, or 50% the capacity. Bigger venues, such as Royal Ascot, they'll be hoping for 10,000 going through the turnstiles each day. What form will it be in? Of course, Royal Ascot on the 15th of June. Numbers will be known a lot by then. Of course, it all unlocks, guys. We're hoping on the 21st of June. But Monday, big day, Keels.
Yeah, massive day. I mean, we can't wait to go. I've booked for Sandown for the Brigadier Show, which is another 10 days later on the 27th. But can't wait to go. And I'm sure loads of people around the country are like that. It's a long time since we've been. I was lucky enough to get one of the 1,000 tickets for the Tingle Creek meeting at Sandown in December, but that's the only time I've been since Cheltenham 2020. So I cannot wait to go. Going to be a different experience, isn't it? Of course, because I suppose we'll have a bit more freedom than we had at Sandown in December, because there were no bars open. There was only a set area that you could be in. I don't imagine you'll have the run on a course like you would do normally. But at least some bars will be open, and with 4,000 people, it'll be a good atmosphere. And like everybody else, I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's concentrate on that a little bit before we go to Pat Cooney for his take on this. These green zones will continue for the athletes, the jockeys, the owners, the officials, etc., and of course the horses on the racecourse track. However, despite the fact that there are going to be all sorts of COVID protocols there, no face coverings, which I think, when you look at outdoor transmission and the numbers, it's exactly the right move. So big for owners as well, isn't it? 100%. I can't wait to go to Windsor on Monday night. Where are you going to go out there? Let us know. Get your comments in on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, anything, of course. It's hashtag what a shout. Pat Cooney, where will you be going? Now, you've been lucky enough to go out already, Pat, but this is pretty much back to business for you, I think, is it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like everyone else, I can't wait. And particularly when you look at, in the last 2 weeks, we've had Chester and York, probably two of the most picturesque race courses in the country. And there's a real feeling, well, God, I would love to have been there, irrespective of the quality of the racing. We just all want to have a day out, don't we? And the numbers do seem good, don't they? I mean, tracks are taking bookings for some of their bigger meetings later on in the year. And there seems to be the demand to go. And people are booking up to go, in 7-8 months' time? So, yeah, irrespective of the weather, there is that clamour to go racing again, and we can't wait. And I'm delighted for the on-course bookmakers as well. They haven't worked 14 months, so it'd be great to welcome them back on board and on the racecourse as well. It's been a tough time for them, and my heart goes out to them. So they'll be back in business as well. All systems go. I just hope there's no hiccups. So fingers crossed.
We're talking about this domestically, of course. If you're watching in Ireland, we feel your issues with this at the minute, but once again, the road ahead looks okay. That vaccination programme over there in Ireland is gathering pace. So it's all good then, isn't it, pretty much? So Kills, will just come to you quickly. You've been mentioning the Brigadier Gerard, man, for the last couple of months. We know you're desperate to go to that one on the Thursday night. That is a cracking meeting. But what in the near future has Kealy got fancied in, on his target?
Well, I'm still hoping to go to Oaks Day, and there's Sandown the following week after that. Just as much as I can, basically, whenever I can get there. You've got to get hold of the tickets, of course.
Yes.
Friends that managed to snaffle some for Oaks Day, but it's up in the air whether I've got one, so we'll have to wait and see.
Listen, the racecourses have done their part, the horses have done their part, the BHA have done their part. Now it's up to us, Pat, isn't it, to go and buy these tickets, get the money back into the racecourses, of course, for the levy, just for the good of the game, and to see these wonderful athletes walking around. I'm really jealous of watching the pictures on the Naysmar this week and seeing all the owners there with that in miles. I'm just watching these great horses walk past. Where's Pat Cooney looking forward to going to? Is it Perth by any chance?
No, my next day out, we're company sponsor for the first time at Beverley Racecourse in a fortnight's time at Saturday, 29th of May. We sponsored the card at Beverley. Really looking forward to it. Bit of Yorkshire hospitality I'm looking forward to. Absolutely.
You try walking up that hill up the home straight, Pat. It's tough, let me tell you. So there you go. Where are we looking forward to going to? I'll tell you what, I can't wait to go to the Ebor meeting. Can't wait to go up there during the week. That's my one. Let us know where you're going to go. Racing clues. Can we talk Derby, guys? It's been classic places, everywhere we go, isn't it? Trials all over the place as well, trying to get out there. Lingfield, Paul Kealy, let's come to you. Third Realm, were you impressed?
Not really. I got the impression that it was a weak race going in, and I got the impression it was a weak race coming out. Did it well enough, but I just don't think there was that much in there. And obviously there were far better Derby trials after that.
Yeah, Kills, you were keen on Addeybb, weren't you? And he really he saw him away quite easily, didn't he?
Yeah, he's slow, isn't he? Though I think you're keen on a horse and it doesn't do what you expect it to do, and he just looks slow to me there, which is going to be a problem. It might be a ledger horse. He might just not be that good. I think we've seen two Derby trials that were considerably better than that. Obviously, Bolshoi Valley winning on Sunday. Has absolutely every right to be favourite after doing what he did there, winning by 6 lengths. I'll be very, very surprised. In fact, everyone will be surprised if Ryan Moore was to jump off him for But High Definition, who looked like, what he said he did. He's just a big lump of a horse who just takes too long to get going, doesn't he? Now, the case with the York race, I mean, it looks like, commentary was saying that, Holly Doyle was setting a decent pace, but I think she nearly stole it. She went slowly. It didn't help the horses who really stay. I think Gear Up is going to be a lot better. I think Gear Up will run a big race in the Derby at a big price, even though he ended up behind High Definition. How can High Definition handle that track? That's what always worried me. Why he was likely to run at Lingfield in the first place. If he comes off the bridle like he did at York, coming round the bend at Epsom, where's he going to go? He's going to knock horses over. You know what I mean? He's not an Epsom horse, whatever he is. I mean, he might well be a leisure horse, might be a very good stayer in time, but he's not, he does not have that tactical speed or balance or anything that you want from a prospective Derby winner. And I was staggered that some firms kept him at the same sort of price, 9-2 for the Derby. I mean, that's an absolute joke price, isn't it?
Do you get the feeling, though, that Keels, I mean, we could do a whole racing clues section on the Dante, couldn't we? Let's save Bolshoi Ballet for the final preview of the Derby from the racing clues. A High Definition, he settled beautifully, Keels. Do you think they had him a bit far back, bearing in mind that he always looked like a horse that wanted to go at least a mile 4? And Holly Doyle definitely sensed glory. Holly, great to see Holly having a first ride for Ballydoyle, of course. She sort of kicked, didn't she? And they had almost ignored her to that point on her horse, what was a pacemaker, let's make no bones about it, and then they rushed for it. Was he a bit too far back?
Well, I think anything that was far back was a bit too far back, because I don't think they went that well, but I don't think he did settle beautifully. I mean, he settled, but he was being nudged along quite early. He was on and off it. He just doesn't have that natural speed that you want to see in a Derby horse. He's obviously a stayer, a strong stayer. But he needs to be woken up really early in his races, and that's just not the sort of horse you're going to want for Epsom.
Yeah, this is fascinating, isn't it? I'll beg to differ with you, Keels. I thought he settled fine. I've seen so many horses lit up on the Naismar this week going around that round course. You just know you're done. Matthew Flinders being one of them, of course. But he's a really laid-back horse, this. And you get the feeling... Of course, let's not forget that he had a problem with his blood skills as well. So there were so many people that were messaging me, I don't know about you, Keels, before we go to Pat, saying this still wins the Derby.
Can't have that at all, mate. I mean, he settled, yes, but he's not just laid back. He looks like he's lazy, and it's not the settling that you've got to worry about. It's whether he's actually going to be fast enough to get a position in the Derby, and I can't see that at all. I think he's got no chance whatsoever. I wouldn't even run him. I'd go straight to the car.
Yes, now the Irish Derby, that's very interesting indeed, and you can see that, and I'll make you just about right. And with Bolshoi Ballet, of course, Pat, who, let's face it, in the Derrinstown, it was an attacking move he made off the bend, the rest nowhere, basically. And while it might have fallen apart in a little bit behind, Southern Lights was hampered on the rail, Taipan still looked green and a little bit slower than perhaps they expected. All he needs to do is repeat that, isn't it, Epsom?
Yeah, you think so. He was hugely impressive, wasn't he? From a bookmaking side of things, you tend to try and find the flaws in these performances. And really, the best I can give you is that McSweeney of Jim Bolger's ran below par, but it was a very taking performance. And he had just had Epsom Derby written all over him, which is something you can't say about High Definition. If he's going to win a Derby, it'll probably be the Irish Derby. Bolshoi Ballet just looks a ready-made, this will probably win at Epsom because, as Keels alluded to, horses have to have tactical speed to win round there. And you could just see Ryan Moore being very, very positive from the get-go. High Definition, he's 9-2. I think that's more liability-driven rather than opinion-driven, because he featured in so many bets throughout the winter. But I would imagine he'll trade bigger than 9-2 in running at Epsom because he can't hold his early pitch for sure. So Bolshoi, a worthy favourite. But Muhafeth out of William Haggas on the show today, still very much in the equation. Nothing's really changed. William probably knew he had to beat at least one Aidan O'Brien horses, but I could imagine there being a big field in this, and most of these horses drift on the day. You could certainly see Aidan O'Brien throw in 4 or 5 darts at the race, so lots to play for at the moment. I don't think any of these horses are shortened dramatically in the betting, though, between now and then.
Isn't it interesting, then, the Colts Classic on the first weekend of June. That's the Derby. You get the feeling that High Definition people are still going to be following him. Are you one of those that still believes? Let us know. One thing I do agree with Keels with, Irish Derby looks perfect. Can we just mention the Oaks Classic then? Guys, can we agree that the Lingfield Oaks trial probably not going to have much bearing at Epsom?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even remember what won it now.
Sherbet Dip. It was Sherbet Lemon that won it for Archie Watson. It was a bit of a soft race, wasn't it? What about the Musadora, Keels?
The Musadora, not 100% sure. Snowfall looked very good, but I mean, nicked it, didn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
Slow. Apparently, the final splits were very, very fast compared to the overall race time. So it was just a brilliant ride from Ryan Moore. I wouldn't, I think Noonstar's a proper stayer and is entitled to go there, but I don't think the form's that strong.
Tiora as well. Look, it was her first day back as a 3-year-old, wasn't it? She was very keen for the Varian stable. Sense that she might be one to take out of it. I agree with you. Noonstar, very keen early, coming back at the end. Proper stayer, maybe Ribblesdale now for her. What about Oaks Ripples then, Pat, in the anti-post markets?
Well, Santa Barbara stayed at home and shortened up in the market. I think that's pretty much how the two main trials went, the Lingfield Oaks trial and the Musadora. Neither were wow moments by any means, were they? Sherbet Lemon, 33-1. Well, why not throw your hat into the ring? But we don't know how good Santa Barbara is at the moment. At face value, 4th in the 1,000 guineas and a second ever run. That's pretty good, isn't it? But she's not gone beyond the mile, she's not gone round the bend. Doesn't sound like a bet to me at 9-4 for the Oaks, but she might just be in a different league. So Snowfall came into the market at 5-1. She's had plenty of races herself, so she's experienced. The race just leaves you a little bit cold at the moment, doesn't it? I mean, Santa Barbara could just be in a different league to these, but at 9-4, you could go through your Racing Post website today and dig out a load more 9-4 chances at a better value.
You get the feeling then that the June the 5th, the Derby is sorted, but the day before, Keels will be there. Who's he going to see winning? Picture still well up in the air. Let's go to Newbury then. More big race previews coming for you. It's the Aston Park Stakes. Small field, but a classy one at that. Paul Kealy, we've been told by William Haggis, the master trainer, what's going to win. Were you taking on Al Arzi?
I was tempted to. The way I was looking at it originally was, if I was looking at this and doing a play spot, I'd put Al Arzi in as the banker. But when you look at the prices, he's giving £3 a horse rated better than him. And, the 2019 St. Leger winner Logician, he looked really good back then. And the fact that they kept him in training as a 5-year-old when he could be going off to stud, they must think there's more to him. And then of course, Mr. Haggis comes along and says he's been working terrible and they've been talking about headgear, etc. That makes you worry. But I mean, at the prices, Logician, officially the better horse getting weight, should be a better 2-1. But there are obvious worries with him. It should be between the two. Al Arzi is probably the safest route.
Yeah, I think viewers will love that, Keels. You've basically said, look, if I was doing the play spot, fantastic, I'd banker Al Arzi. But as we know, Keels is price sensitive and there's always angles in. Logician, will he go on the ground, Pat Cooney? That's a big worry.
Yeah, I think this is one of these situations where prices dictate opinions, really, don't they? At some point, Logician's sounds as though he's going to be a market drifter, doesn't he? But at some point, he's going to be a bet, really. As Keels says, Al Arzi's got to give £3 away. I'm trying to make a case out for Thunderous. He is a Dante winner. He ran first time out this year at Sandown. He was dreadful. He was 7th, and he reappeared a week later, and it was a bit better. And I just think maybe the good to soft ground, stepping up to 1.5 miles, we might see a better Thunderous. But sounds ominous, though, William Haggis, doesn't it, with Al Arzi? Giving £3 away, he didn't seem too fazed by that. So I can imagine Al Arzi winning, and maybe Thunderous. Still, the jury may be out on him, but I'm expecting a better run from him. So Logician at some point, I'm sure he'll be easy in the market. You've got to consider him, but sounded ominous, doesn't it, from Mr. Haggis there? It
absolutely does, but you're right. Looking at the forecast, maybe Thunderous might be the topically named horse in the Aston Park Stakes. 240 at Newmarket then. Let's go to HQ. Rolling miles, small fields, listed race, 7 furlongs. Paul Kealy, give us some help here. This looks like a puzzle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those. Do you fall for the wide margin maiden winner, who just looked really, really good at Newmarket, or do you go for the form horse, which is probably Devil Wild, who's rated 107? I'm inclined to go with Jane Chapel-Hyams, Filly Belosa, to be honest. I know she's favourite, but crikey, she was impressive. And afterwards, it's quite interesting. Afterwards, she said she knew she had a good horse because it went through. It was breezing past. She was breezing past an older horse of theirs called Ambassadorial, who is, it's 100+ on the all weather and a good 90 horse on the flat on turf. And, you know, she's obviously very, very good. She's got a Coronation Stakes entry. And when you look at the others, although they've got reasonable form and better form, you can't argue against that. Devil Wilder was obviously placed in group races last year, ran really, really well. Went fourth in the Dewhurst, for instance, behind St Mark's Basilica. But they look a little bit exposed, with the exception possibly of Cloudbridge, who looked a bit of a nutter last year on his second start. If you remember at York, when last as even money favourite behind Gear Up. So yeah, I think there's room for something to blow them away, and if there is one, it's going to be Belosa.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, Kills. I couldn't find any once-race maiden winners of this, and I kept looking through the puzzle. And Devil Wilder, I thought, first-time blinkers, Beckett, Ross Orion, keeping it simple, no problems with the ground. There's plenty of rain about this weekend as well. I'll come to you, John Nettles, on that front.
Well, yeah, you do look at Belosa. I would say this. I think she's priced up on the basis there was an awful lot of money around for her when she did make a winning debut. I think people are just thinking Jane Chappell IMO, I probably need the run. Her stats, first time out runners, aren't that staggering. So there was plenty of money around for this. And of course, Jane's had a cracking season, nearly won the 1,000 guineas, of course. So Belosa probably priced up in anticipation of there being more money again today. But I do look at Devil Wilder, you know, you look at his form figure, 7.4840, and you're thinking, well, you know, I'd be surprised if that was good enough. But when you take a look at the company he's been keeping, like fourth in the Dewhurst, went to the Belmont, to the Breeders' Cup, ran in the 2,000 guineas, front runner, drops a furlong, first time in blinkers, catch me if you can. We'll see how good this Belosa really is. So I think Devil Wilder might be the one to catch him.
Yes, absolutely. I'm with you. I thought Cloudbridge might struggle on the ground as well. So Keels, he sees the excitement with the filly, thinks it will rock home. Big call time then in the studio. Last week I suggested that no one was riding better than Jim Crowley. However, a young lad has come around this week and really advertised his skills. In fact, he looks like Jim Crowley Mark II to me. It is Pat Cooney.
Ross Orion, and I was hoping he'd be a best kept secret because a lot of his horses still start at good prices. But, you know, you just watch a horse. I had the volume down watching the racing the other day, and he rode a winner. I thought, I wonder who rode that. Ross Orion. Next race, I'm thinking, okay, that was a good rider. One who rode that, Ross Orion. He rode a treble. He's ridden winners for at all different tracks, all different styles of running. He made all on a winner at Salisbury the other day for Rafe Beckett. Thought he was terrific on it. He's ridden 58 winners from 305 mounts this year as we speak. And his strike rate on favourites is 45%. So he gets the job done. If you give him the ammunition, he's going to win on it. He's 20. I think he's going to be the hot ticket. I think he's going to have a real good season, all being well. He's young. He's good. Tactically good. Not a best kept secret anymore, sadly, but good for him. I wish him well.
Yeah, echo all of that, Pat. Of course, he had a treble at Salisbury on Thursday, didn't he, for different trainers. We saw him through the winter. This is a young star in its ascendancy. Sticking with jockeys, actually, the first race on the Rolling Mile on Thursday. This is going to be my big call. There was a horse called Bella Zada that won the first race in the fillies handicap. Really, really messy finish. She basically started about 8 wide going down the middle of the Rolling Mile. She ended up on the stands rail. Martin Dwyer, the jockey, got a 4-day ban, just a 4-day ban. If anyone can tell me that was the best horse in the race that won, good luck to you trying to make a coherent argument out of that. Now, this has been coming again. Look, we only have to go a month back, don't we, to the Bet365 Gold Cup. We saw that the best horse probably won the race still, but rightfully was demoted. They couldn't give it to Kitty's Light, of course. I don't know, the BHA have got to do something here, I think. It's been coming. We saw on the all-weather as well during the winter when Ben Curtis hit the Tapeta. You know, this win at all costs. And it's been a slow start for Martin Dwyer, I get that. But the intent to go across, it was a dangerous manoeuvre. In just 4 days, I don't think it's going to put jockeys off winning at all costs. Am I right, Kills, or am I wrong?
Yeah, with that one, I mean, you mentioned the Bet365 Gold Cup. I mean, the horse was at fault there when he wandered, wasn't he? But this was purely a case of a jockey riding with a whip in his wrong hand all the way. He kept it in his left hand all the way and went across and didn't make any effort to change it. Yeah, that's dangerous riding as far as I'm concerned. And surely, if you look at it, you'd give him more than that. I don't want to see jockeys being put out of work for long periods of time or anything like that, especially if people are struggling. But by the same token, you've got to have a bit of common sense about this, and that was a dangerous ride.
Yeah, if you want to know more about it, just check out our front-running Chris Cook's Twitter feed. He did a brilliant piece where he took a picture at the beginning, took a second picture, a third picture, and a fourth picture, and rightly so, his followers were up in arms about it. If you had a bet in that race on the second or third, I think you had absolute right to be aggrieved. BHA, do something about it. Okay, Paul Kealy, big call.
Right, yes, let's go back to getting on the racecourse. Now, we know that prize money has been down dramatically since COVID, and there are reasons for that, including bookmakers being shut and whatever. But another reason is the fact that there have been no spectators, so the courses can't put the money in. So a reminder to everybody involved in racing that spectators are important as well. So let's, if you can, have a little bit more engagement with people when they're there. Now, I'm not saying everybody's bad at it. The jumps fraternity can be particularly good at it. But just take a little bit of time with some of the punters out there if they come and approach you or whatever. Obviously, not the nutcases who want to abuse you on social media or whatever. Just remember, spectators are a very, very important part of this game.
Absolutely. Here. You are important to us, the racecourses. We can't wait to see you back out there. If you're at Windsor, for example, on Monday night and the jockeys are walking through, say hello. 3 o'clock at Newbury. What will the ground be doing in the London Gold Cup? Who doesn't love the London Gold Cup? One of the best 3-year-old handicaps on the planet. Pat Cooney, where's the market been looking? Who's going to go our favourite? Will it be Tambarada?
I would imagine Tamarada's favourite to be favourite, but as you touched on, this is a popular race. You get some good group horse winnings. I think Defoe's won this before. Al Kazim's won this. Time Test. So you need that group horse. There's no point just landing on an exposed handicapper. Unfortunately, there's quite a few unexposed types in the race. Tambarada, 3 from 3, probably favourite. My eye is drawn to Baybridge, Sir Michael Stout, Ryan Moore. Only won a minor race last time out. But I noticed he is entered in the Group 2 King Edward VII at Royal Ascot. He's rated 90. That seems a fancy entry for a Sir Michael Stout runner. He obviously considers him way better than 90. So I wouldn't be surprised if Baybridge ends up as the solid option because of the hype that might come with him. But adding Highland Rocker and so forth, you need one who's going to end up as a group horse. Baybridge might just be that horse now. Certainly his entry would suggest he would be.
Yeah, desperately impressive at Newcastle, wasn't he? The third has come up and hacked up in a handicap off 75, now rated in the mid-80s. He'll do for me as well for Michael Stout, who's got a good record in the race. Keels.
Yeah, I expect he'll be favourite, but there will be other horses that are miles ahead of their marks, even if they're low down. You've got to remember, Communique won it off 84, I think, for Mark Johnston. He's got King Frankel in the race, running off 82. He ran a decent time at Pontefract last time. It was only a 3-runner race, but he had the favourite beaten before that one's action went wrong. Johnston's run loads and loads of horses in this race that ended up £20-30 better than their handicap marks afterwards. And this one was one of his, the chosen one of his 3. And the other one is Oz Legend of Hugo Palmer. I thought that run against Siskani was really good at Windsor, especially as I think he wants a bit of ease in the ground. He's a full brother to Sir Patrick Sarsfield, who really liked soft ground. And his Newcastle maiden form is really, really good. I think 4 of the next 5 home behind him are all now rated higher in the handicap than he is. So those will be my 2 against the more obvious ones.
Yeah, not the biggest field in the London Gold Cup 2021, however, but plot jobs absolutely everywhere. Can you remember when Al Kazim won this? It can go to a Group 1 horse. 3:35 then. Shall we look into a Group 1? It's the Lockinge. Yes, this brilliant mile race steeped in history. We've heard from Mr. Haggis, who basically said we'll be playing for places behind Palace Pier. I'm not taking him on Kills. He's the only one I narrowed it down to. Ever so impressive after he got a crack at Sandown, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's extremely impressive with Sandown. He's entitled to do that, to bless him, to be fair, especially on a round course, because bless him, better on a straight course. But even so, he's just a miles better horse. Trainer said he was only 80% right, but he didn't need to be any more than that. He's only got that one, blot on his form, isn't he? And that was on Champions Day last year. I don't think he can blame the ground, because he's fine on ground. It was heavy ground at Deauville when he beat Alpine Star. I think he was probably just over the top. It can happen to some horses, even if they haven't had that many runs. So yeah, he's by miles the one to beat. And with the ground going soft, will Lope Fernandez stay? I think a mile is very much at the end of his stamina range, isn't it? He looked very, very good on his return, but I'd be looking for something else. And it would be, like William Haggis said, top rank. I was really impressed with him at Newbury on his return. If I was going to have an each-way bet in the race, it'd probably be him. It's just, there's not an awful lot of meat on the place bone, is there, when you expected the Fab to win? So I just think Palace Pier will win. There'll be betting without. I might see what price Top Rank is on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if he gets a pace to aim at, Palace Pier, can't see him being beaten. I personally think he'll end up as a top-rated horse on turf by the end of the year, all being well. Top Rank, echo everything Kills says. If you look at James Tate's great social media on Twitter, watch that piece of work he does last time. The rain's come for him as well. Put Pat Cooney then. Is this going to be one for the without market?
Yeah, he looks pretty straightforward, this, doesn't it, Palace Pier? I think we're all expecting him to win. Lope Fernandez, he's an interesting horse, this fella. You know, they messed around with him at the Trip. He's had 3 runs at the mile. He was 3rd in the Irish Guineas, bit unlucky. Then he was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup, and then he won on his reappearance in it, odds on. So his mile form reads okay, but the fact that they were dropping him down in Trip, you think, well, then they're not really sure. He could be one where, although he's second favourite, he won't finish second. There could be other horses in the race. You know, the likes of Bless Him could be held up, ridden for luck, come flying through at the end without at a big price. But yeah, I think you look at Mr. Tate's horse, Top Rank, and you think, yeah, lightly raced, progressive. Even though he is a 5-year-old, he could be one for the each way money. Lady Bowthorpe, form boosted, she's in the equation. But I think they're all playing catch up behind Palace Pier in this one for sure.
He's odds on, but when does he become value? I have to say, I thought he would be a little bit shorter. Palace Pier, does he get beat? Are you taking him on? Let your comments in below. Time for the My Racing Double then. Check out our friend's website, myracing.com. Expert tips and analysis. Got a massive Twitter following. We know you love those guys out there. And they're double this week, 225. They'll be delighted to hear Mr. Haggis talking so well of Al Arzi. That's the first one. And in the following race, the boys in blue can take out the London Gold Cup with Tamburrada. Weekend nap time then. Pat Cooney, take the floor.
Yeah, Doncaster 805, number 2, Roundhay Park, Nigel Tinkler horse. This fella a bit unlucky, I thought, on his reappearance at Wetherby. He was beaten by the draw. That being said, he was only beaten half a length. He won the Air Bronze Cup last year with Faye McManaman, who gets on well, rides again on Saturday evening. He beat 22 horses that day, and he's only £2 higher. So promising reappearance. It's there in the form book. Expect a big run, Roundhay Park, 805 at Donny.
Oh, nice. Up to tell more than for Pat Cooney. Now, Keels, what have we got? A must-read every Saturday, the Sizzlers in the paper and on the members section. But which one is going to be the top of the pile?
Yeah, just in terms of price at the moment, you get 13-2, I think, top price about Tasman Bay, which I think is with you boys at Bet365. So it is. It's a 205 at Newmarket. He's got the gossip horse John Leaper. He's got Fancy Man, who's the form horse to beat. But Tasman Bay, he's had 2 runs this season for Sir Mark Todd, who was an equestrian legend, won just about everything you could win in the event and showed jumping world and trained Group 1 winners in New Zealand. He bolted up in a novice event, beat a 5 on shot, and you might have thought that was a fluke. But next time out, he's 3rd in this conditions race at Newbury. And the 4th was River Alwen, who bolted up at Newmarket off 96 the next time. The 2nd was Maximal, who was 2nd in the D Stakes, and the winner was Hurricane Lane. Now, that line of form is incredibly strong, and how this horse can be 13-2 in that field, I do not know.
I don't think it should be that price for Kills after people listen to that coherent argument for Tasman Bay at Newmarket then. OK, London Gold Cup. I'll complete the treble with Baybridge. Sir Michael Stout. Love this horse. Think he's going forward. Probably a group horse and a handicap. All right, that's all we've got time for then on this week's What a Shout. What a pleasure it was to go to Somerville Lodge and William Haggis. He could have listened to William all day, couldn't we? Hopefully you got the hot info and some breaking news on all of his runners there. My thanks to William and the team for making that work. My thanks to you for watching. My thanks to Paul Kealy. Kills, what does this weekend hold?
As usual, mate, sitting in front of the TV. Give it a few more days and we'll be back at the track.
Oh, we fear for his appearance in the next couple of weeks. We might lose him to the racecourses out there. If you see Keels, don't just be kind to the jockeys and the staff. Give him some love as well. Pat Cooney, what are you doing this weekend?
Yes, I'll be at home watching some cracking racing and very much an international flavour, isn't there? The Preakness Stakes America and the French Guineas on Sunday. So notebooks at the ready. Globally
hot action then for you to enjoy this weekend. Until next weekend, enjoy the Lockinge. Will Palace Pier go and smash them up? Get your comments below. Keep them coming in, the feedback for the panellists. I'd love to read that as you go. YouTube, Facebook, of course, and on Twitter, hashtag What a Shout. Don't forget to download the free must-have Racing Post app. You can do that on the App Store or the Google Play Store itself. Don't forget, gamble responsibly. So much racing for us to look at, isn't there? Absolutely. Do gamble safely. And until then, from myself, Dave Orton, enjoy the sport.